For truth and diversity, come to RadioSimi.
Hey everyone, welcome to RadioSimi. I'm your host, Aleyah Ewing.
And I'm your co-host, Daeton Dinner. This week we'll be interviewing Park Board member Josh Gray and going over the latest news in Simi Valley and more.
Remember, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or if you want to come on our show, reach out to us at tiny.cc/RadioSimi forum.
Also in Simi news, the California Public Utilities Commission will hold a hearing on January 26 on the performance of California Edison and their power shutoffs. You can listen and participate in the meeting by going to cpuc.ca.gov/PSPS. The MLK Day of Service went well. Some volunteers painted over graffiti in Corrigansville, and some restored some damaged equipment. A group of black teenagers were recently racially profiled at Westlake Target. One of the teenagers was the son of our recent guest speaker, LaShawn Aaron. The Ronald Reagan Library is looking for volunteers. If you're interested, email Lisa Doyle at lisa.doyle@nara.gov or download an application at reaganlibrary.gov and click on Join Our Team. Also, we have 3 storms expected to hit this weekend, so stay safe and stay dry. Now for some COVID-19 updates. On January 21st, there was 834 new cases, 29 additional deaths, which is a record number in Ventura County. Another 24 people passed away over the weekend. Adult ICU bed availability has dropped down to 0%. While ventilator availability has dropped to 56%. Keep in mind, these numbers may be low because the Ventura Fairgrounds was the only open COVID testing site due to the high winds.
And here are some local job opportunities. There are multiple job openings at Resource MFG. They are looking for assemblers and the pay is $14 an hour. It is full-time, you get benefits, a referral bonus, and free online courses. For more information, call 805-309-5634. Five Below is a store at the mall that sells items for $5 or below, thus the name. And even better, they're always hiring. I worked there for a year in 2018 before I quit, and I just now got my termination email a few days ago. I didn't even know they still had me in their system. I do think it's an honor because it's kind of like they couldn't let go of me. The general manager was super sweet, and also one of my good friends still works there. They pay minimum wage, and they're fairly flexible with their schedule, so if you're interested, you can call them at 805-579-7064. The Simi Valley government is now taking applications for full-time maintenance workers. They pay anywhere from $19.40 to $24.78 an hour. The recruitment closes on February 4th at 5 p.m. or when 75 applications are received, so make sure to turn them in as soon as possible. You can apply at calopps.org/simi-valley/job-2007-2183. The city is also looking for a full-time Deputy Administrative Services Director. The pay is anywhere between $98,447 to $126,658 annually. The application closes on February 1st at 5 p.m. or until 75 applications are received. You can apply at calopps.org/simi-valley/job-2007-0382. Here are some local politics. Since 2018, Simi Valley is now split into 4 districts, with only 2 districts eligible to vote every 2 years. Last year, the odd number districts, so 1 and 3, were on the ballot. In 2022, we can vote for the even number districts, 2 and 4. The districts only apply for the city council race. Anybody from any district can still vote for mayor, water board, and park board. However, the school board is also split into districts, but these are not the same districts as city council. The school board is split into 5 areas, Area A, B, C, D, and E. The reason I brought this up was because I want to talk about neighborhood councils. Neighborhood councils are groups of community members from the individual city districts, meaning 1, 2, 3, and 4, Each neighborhood council has 13 non-paid community members that are intended to represent the residents of their district. They advise the City Council and the Planning Commission on resident concerns, development projects, and other matters on which the City Council has specifically requested their input. Neighborhood councils work within the city's government structure, however, they are not paid. They act as a liaison between the city and the residents. They work together to develop ideas and recommendations for community concerns related to planning, development projects, public safety, and other community services. They meet once a month, and the meetings are public for anyone to attend. They also have rolling applications, so if you're interested in applying and getting more involved, you can contact Emily Habib at ehabib@simivalley.org. If you want information about city council districts and neighborhood councils, you can find it all on the city website, simivalley.org. Speaking of Park Board, we're now going to be interviewing Park Board member Josh Gray. I'm actually wearing my Josh Gray for Park Board 2020 campaign shirt, so I get the feeling that this lucky shirt is going to give us a good interview. So,
good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited.
We were wondering if you could introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Josh Gray. Let's see where to start. I was born and raised here in Simi Valley. That's a good start. Went to Knowles Elementary, Valley View Middle School, and then Santa Susana High School. In November, I was elected, and in December, I was sworn into the RadioSimi Recreation and Parks District that oversees all of Simi Valley and Oak Park. That's a small neighborhood in TO. We oversee a lot of the open space. We have a large staff, and it's actually an independent government from the city itself and from the schools. So we're technically a special district, and hopefully everybody who's listening has voted. But you would have seen us. The Park District race was one of the last ones on the ballot, and hopefully you voted in it. And if you didn't, please do your research next time, and please vote in it, because local office is absolutely important. More about me. From 2015 to 2017, I worked in the Obama administration at the White House. I worked in communications. I was the White House media monitor. In the last 5 years, though, I also worked at a startup where I was their interim CEO. We were trying to use machine learning to develop a better process to reach out to voters and donors to increase fundraising and communication between those groups.
What was it like to run for office in Simi Valley?
So running for office in Simi Valley, I would say there's definitely a formula that I think works best. I think it's better if you've been involved in the community for a long time, that most people, and it goes in any situation, in any town, people trust people they know more. And I've been volunteering, I've been in the community for, since I was 10 years old. And so when people who know people have met you, and when you're not meeting them for the first time as a candidate, there's a lot more trust. They know that you care. They know that you're not suddenly interested in the community. But Simi Valley, I don't know, any place will have its unique characteristics. COVID definitely changed everything about the campaign. I planned almost all of 2020 that I was going to run for the Park District. I was ready for it. And I would say people in Simi Valley respond really well to meeting the candidate. Simi Valley also has its concerns, its issues. It's highly partisan. 2020 was not an easy year to run. The most common question I got on a regular basis was, what party are you a part of? And that was disheartening, because the people who were generally asking me that question didn't care what I wanted to do or what my background was. They just cared what my ideological view of the world is. And that is a valid question, but I don't think it's always the most important question versus, do I have thoughts of what I want to do, or do I just want to hold the seat to hold the seat? And I think that was one thing I was most proud of in the campaign was I had an idea of what I think most needed to change. And then I went and talked to people in the community, small business leaders, community leaders, people who are involved. And I said, does this make sense to you? Do you think I'm wrong? I want to talk about it. What do you think? And I got great feedback. And I think having plans and ideas and showing that you also know the system and you actually plays a much bigger role if you can get things done or if you can make things better than what's your spectrum on any ideology politically. but I ran, and I was lucky enough to be elected.
Why did you choose park board?
There's never one reason, but a few of the reasons. I talked to some of the people on the park board, one name in particular, and that was Brian Dennert. And I realized he was someone who I would love to work with because he's not constrained as a lot of people in public office are. That was a major influence. I talked to people in different communities, and I realized I really liked a lot of the people at the park district. I talked to some staff, and I really liked them. And then there's a degree in which I'm also very interested in the issues. I also had a consideration. I really care about education, but I don't have a kid in the district. And although I'm related to a ton of teachers, I realized that park district would be a good place to learn, and I could still impact education because it either runs or it helps manage and kind of shops out a lot of the before and after school programs in our community. So that was a big motivator of like, okay, I could still touch my passion of education by doing it at the park district, and it's not necessarily an issue that everybody on the park board is interested in. So I feel like I can have a unique voice, a unique interest in that regard. I'm also an Eagle Scout and grew up hiking a lot of the trails. I absolutely adore them. Even at a very young age, whenever I left Simi Valley, I would be coming over on the 118 and seeing those hills, and how much that just seems in tuned, at least in my mind, with what Simi Valley is, and what it highlights the beauty of Simi Valley. And the park district controls a lot of that open space and manages it for the public. And I want to protect that. I think the park district could be a little more activist in its outreach and its push. And that's one thing that I thought, as an elected official, one thing that I could absolutely do is keep going to community groups and going on fantastic podcasts like RadioSimi. All your episodes have been great so far. I really enjoyed the police chief, Livingstone, was an absolutely fascinating conversation. But come on programs like this and then advocate to people in Simi Valley of, hey, the park district actually has a ton of courses to offer. I know it can be quite large, the offerings. It can be confusing. Sometimes it's not the right time, the right place. Obviously, COVID throws a lot of that into whack, but there are online offerings. But I want to come on programs like this and promote that.
You've been working for the park board for the last 2 months. What has that been like?
So it's been really interesting. For anybody unaware, I'm 27. I'm quite young to hold any office. I sit on a board with 4 other people. One fantastic board member was there when the park district was started. She is an incredible resource, knows almost everything there is to know about the park district. The board is fantastic. I really enjoy my relationship with the district manager. I think he's fantastic. He draws a great balance. In order for the board to pass anything, like strategy-wise or a push, we have to have a majority, obviously. And some of the board members I knew before I was elected, some I had my first conversation with the night I was sworn in. And one of the reasons I'm glad I'm on the park board and not necessarily mixed up with any of the other local governments is anybody who's interested. The park board works really well together. And to be fair, all the seats are nonpartisan as well. That is helpful. But the park board to this point and historically has not been bogged down with partisan infighting. Everybody, to my experience, is a very healthy working relationship. And I've been watching board meetings, obviously, more than the last 2 months. I've been watching it for a year or two now. And not being caught up in partisanship or one-upsmanship was really important to having success and having good dialogue. And it's led to good legislation and results. I've moved far away from the question. I apologize. But I've really enjoyed being on the board, working with it.
Can you tell us about the MLK Day of Service?
Yeah, sure. So at the time of filming, it's the 17th, and tomorrow the 18th, where many people, there's the federal holiday for Martin Luther King Jr. And there was the great idea from the park board and the district to advocate in honor of MLK and the wishes of his family, that MLK Day, while it's a day, it may be a day off for work for many of us, it should still be a day of service, that it's a day on, and that you should be giving back and you should be contributing to your community and to your fellow people. It doesn't have to be here in Simi Valley, although I would recommend, I think volunteering locally can do a lot more. And so the Park District, despite COVID, was able to find opportunities for the community to volunteer in different parks and different areas here in Simi Valley that are outside, that people could reasonably social distance and be safe and masked up, but contribute to the benefit of the community. So I know tomorrow I will be in Corganville helping paint over some graffiti, and I believe there's 5 different parks. We'll be doing various things for the benefit of the community. I think there's some playgrounds that they'll be re-chipping. I know there'll be some light painting, and I definitely like to make this an annual thing. Anybody who's interested can go on the RadioSimi website, check it out. You can also look on their Facebook page.
That was going to be my next question, was where could people find more information?
Yeah. And hopefully next year we'll be able to advertise it a little bit more, expand it, and we hope you'll join us out there. I definitely want to keep doing it. Yeah.
Thank you. So my next question was, you went to my candidate forum in September, and one of the questions we received for the park board members from Rebecca Albarian was if park board members would be interested in having Wi-Fi provided at all of the parks. How do you feel about that?
Mm-hmm. So I know there was a candidate who ran on that. I'm not sure of the timeline. At some point in the last 20 years, I know there was a candidate who ran on that issue. And I think it's actually more complicated. I love the concept. I know one of the concerns that has come up on the issue is not just cost, but also that in the 10 or so years since the issue was first brought up, the data capabilities and the Wi-Fi abilities have changed so much that, you should really, I know Brian Dennert knows a ton about this because him and I had a long conversation like a year ago about it. The worry was how much bang would you get for how much it ended up costing. It can be quite expensive, and the worry was with cell phones and data plans generally having gotten so much better in the last 10 years that I think the realization became, would the service that potentially provide be the most helpful project we could work on? Because the reality is the Park District also has a 5-10 year budget plan. So we have priorities of not only maintenance, but we're also building a new community center at the new Park District headquarters. And there's long-term investments in Oak Park. With the fires, we're using insurance money and other capability and resources to try to rebuild their center out there. That the question was just how long would it take us to implement? And then by the time it happens, how many people could, in theory, utilize it to great effect? And would we be able to provide Wi-Fi that was useful for anything besides checking email? It was just one of those, we have so many priorities. And yeah, that I think, in my view, to install Wi-Fi in parks, we may have missed the moment of greatest impact. And that's unfortunate. That sucks. But at this point, I think I'd rather spend money on other long-term investments that I know people are already using, or there's already social groups that benefit from those investments and we can grow them in that regard. It's complicated. And if anybody has strong feelings on it, or any feelings or any thoughts, I'd appreciate reaching out. But I think at this point in time, there's other long-term investments and priorities that I think are just going to be better for the community at large.
In other cities and states and territories like DC, San Francisco, any parks in New York, Central Park, for example, they have restaurants and street carts Do you think that this would help boost our economy? And if so, would you be in favor of having these?
Interesting. I'll be honest, I've never thought of that. I do know there are some vendors currently who do, they should be permitted. I know some vendors who are permitted who do provide products and services on Park District property. I think that's great. I love the concept of having vendors go through, and I'd be interested in promoting that more. But yeah, I think it'd be awesome to have more vendors, and yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
I'll show up to you next week and I'll bring it up. You encourage me to show up. I'll go.
Good. I encourage, and anybody else who wants to show up too and talk about it, please do. That's what it's for. We're public servants.
All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Everybody should absolutely check out Rancho Simi's offerings for recreation programs. Everybody of all ages, there's offerings all over the place. And if you can't find something you like, please reach out. I'd love to talk about it. One of my goals is to grow the rec programs and participation in it. There's all sorts of fantastic things to do. I can't believe we've already been talking for as long as we have. But I'm always happy to come back another time. I've enjoyed your guys' other podcasts, and I look forward to listening to them more.
This is unrelated, but are those alpacas on the blanket behind you?
Yes, it is. Yeah. That was my girlfriend is a big fan of alpacas. Oh. And my screen went blurry. And that was a birthday gift I got her. So there's a blanket behind me for anybody listening in with alpacas that are saying, I think one is saying hi, one is saying be cool. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. I've been staring at it the whole time. I just had to know. Okay.
Yeah.
I am curious because you were talking about how the park board is different than like any of the other government agencies in Simi Valley. Why is that? Why is it a different entity?
So it actually comes down to that the park district and the school district are older than the city. So because the city only became an official city in I don't hold me to this date, but I think it's like 1967. The city's been around less time that the park board and school district were made, or park district and school district are 2 years or so older than the city itself. Wow. And so when they were instituted, they were made as special districts within the state to service the population that later became Simi Valley. And that's also why it's Rancho Simi Park District, not Simi Valley Park District, is the park district is actually larger than the city. So that's why we service people in TO, and we go way north of here. But yeah, so the park district is actually older than the city itself. So is the school district. And so it actually makes it really awkward when I ran because the city doesn't administer my election at all. That we're a co-equal branch of the region, and I actually have more constituents than the city does. So whenever I do any filing paperwork, any sort of elected official-y thing, I can't go to the city. I have to go all the way out to Ventura and file it at the courthouse out there because we're run by the county is the next level up of me. The city doesn't have any authority over the park district.
Well, that's cool.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
More you know.
Yeah.
That was super interesting. Yeah. That's really cool. I never knew any of that. Okay, well, I don't want to keep you too long. We already took a whole hour of your day. We would love to have you come back on the show.
I'm happy to. If anybody wants to talk about any of these topics or anything else that didn't come up, please reach out. The best way to contact me is unfortunately on Facebook and my Facebook page, or Josh Gray for Park Board. And you can message me there about our community.
All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
This next segment is with Adam Pusich to talk to you about some local science.
When it comes to fossils in Simi, we couldn't have it better. The makeup of our valley, along with the geographical features of the area it lies in, helped to make it an amazing place to find all sorts of creatures from long ago. There are different factors that helped Simi become the fossil haven it is. Simi Valley lies in the west of a transverse range province that stretches from Point Arjulo in the west to the San Bernardino Mountains in the east. This range is characterized by hills and mountains with valleys, including Simi, filling in the gaps. We are also lucky to have had a subduction zone, a fault where tectonic plates go underneath one another just off the coast from 75 to 30 million years ago. The subduction zone that used to exist helped put Simi under deep ocean water, which is why so many fossilized sea creatures can be found in our hills. The rock all around Simi is also sedimentary, leaving many of the fossils much more well preserved and easier to find. The Simi landfill has also been a gold mine for local fossils. Local paleontologists have found fossilized bones and teeth from over 130 extinct animals, including some new ones. In fact, 6 new animal species were discovered in the past 20 years alone. That doesn't even include fossils found elsewhere throughout our hills, including the 15-million-year-old fossil found in July of 2019. There just doesn't seem to be an end to the amount of cool stuff we can find around these spots. So whether you're hiking around town or just in your own backyard, keep an eye out for any of the many, many fossils most likely hidden just beneath your feet. You literally never know what you could find.
Our next artist is a band that we actually introduced a few episodes ago, and we hope to continue playing their songs. The band is called Stuck in Vacation, and this is their song 10 a.m. Thank you so much. That was their song, 10 a.m., and you could find their music on all media platforms, as well on Instagram at Stuck in Vacation. This is a Simi story from Aaron Worth.
An inspirational story I'd like to share with everyone. Back in 2001, high school football, it was our last preseason game. I was playing defense. I was in the safety position. Went up for an interception, caught the ball, came down awkwardly in a group of athletes around me. As we cleared the pile, I got up. I couldn't move. I ended up falling down. My leg, a lot of pain. My father came and took me off the field because I couldn't walk. Ended up trying to get into the doctor the next day and ended up discovering I had a Lisfranc sprain. I had to went through 6 different doctors to finally figure out what was going on. But it was really a scary time. I was able to see a sport medicine doctor that's worked on athletes such as Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, Wyatt Tittle. He ended up helping me repair my foot. 3 surgeries I've had. I had to go through these surgeries from the age 17 to 21. I was told I'd never be able to be active or to do anything the rest of my life. Always on crutches, always limping around. So it was really demoralizing for a young guy wanting to do certain things with his friends, and I couldn't. I want to say I did some research, and then I got into my 30s. I started doing some wellness programs and working on some ways to recover my body and try to be active. And as I was starting to build some strength and do things, I ended up coming across a great trainer that worked with me, got me up and moving around where I felt really good. And I ended up moving on to be able to start racing. I ended up completing 48 different races during this timeline. And I'm looking forward to trying a triathlon as I was able to battle through all these circumstances that I was told I wouldn't be able to do certain things, and I was able to accomplish it. So never give up, always do, and believe in yourself.
Thank you for that story, Aaron.
For more information on how to contact us here at RadioSimi, you can fill out the form tiny.cc/RadioSimi form.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 5 of Radio Simi. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at RadioSimi and on Twitter at RealRadioSimi. Remember, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or if you just want to come on our show, reach out to us at tiny.cc/RadioSimi form.